Hello and good day, everyone. Thanks for joining this session and hope you all had a wonderful, insightful session. I'm Prateek Sharma and I lead the APAC business at Talview. And before this, I've spent time at Reliance and Mercer. So I sat on the multiple sides of the table, understanding how enterprises are built, how talent strategy connects to the business outcomes, and now how technology can actually make hiring more trustworthy at scale. Welcome to session two, where we'll be touching base on the topic of what IT talent leaders are actually seeing. This is an unfiltered version from the people or the leaders who have actually lived it. The moment the trust broke, the cost that didn't show up in any report, the hard call that everyone had to make the morning after. Human stories, real experiences, real stake, no PR, no filter. I have the privilege of hosting three of most respected voice in the space today, starting off with Mr. Ashok Vira, nearly 3 decades shaping enterprise IT and HR transformation at Accenture. He's been at the forefront of using Gen AI and agentic AI to reinvent how global organizations hire and scale talent. So Ashok just doesn't show or follow where the industry is going. He rather helps decide where it goes. Thank you, Mr. Ashok, for joining. Then we have followed by Dr. Sumukh SG, who is the Global TA Program Leader at Tekion, formerly leading talent acquisition for Amazon Pay, a PhD in organizational psychology, internationally published researcher, and one of the most influential HR voices on LinkedIn today. With over 125,000 followers, and my God, speaking about the engagements, it's 20 million plus engagement in just 6 months. He brings both the science and the ground level reality to this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Sumukh, for joining. Then we are followed. Thank you. Then we are followed by Mr. Anupam Srivastava, who has over 23 years of building world class talent functions across big organizations like GE Healthcare, Intuit, Yahoo, PayPal, and now heading global HR and TA at Reltio. He has the experience of hiring in more than 22 plus countries. Wow. Aligned talent strategy with business growth across continents and knows better than most what it costs when the wrong person gets through because of his larger and expansive experience. Thank you, Mr. Anupam, for joining this section.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Right. So, dear participants, three leaders, three different vantage points, one question that cuts through all of it. My dear panelist, this question is for you. Take us back to the moment, the actual moment where you realized your hiring process had a trust problem. Probably we can go into the way in which we had the introductions first by Mr. Ashok, followed by Dr. Sumukh, and then Mr. Anupam giving their responses and opinion. Over to you, Mr. Ashok.
Thank you very much, Prateek. Uh, the hiring for any organization, and particularly global organization serving IT, and every business is a technology business, and the way the technology is evolving, hiring process has multiple players into it, whether it's candidates, hiring managers, and the recruiting people. The speed at which the technology is evolving, the expectation is that the hiring processes and the solutions that we use also change, keeping at the with the speed at which it is. And the technology that we use today is no longer relevant for the hiring for tomorrow. Think about it for a minute. There's some problem with the agencies who are putting the candidates into their inflow, or the recruit or the referral that are putting coming into, and now the technology they have in their hand, right? And think about how would you take care of the identity of the candidate, the skill set that the candidate is talking about that they possess, and do they really possess that skill set, and is it relevant, because that skill set also needs to be changed, and the way you evaluate also needs to be changed. And think about the psychological problem that it creates for the recruiting fraternity and the hiring managers, because they are at the task of any incident that goes out to the higher management leadership saying that have they done the right job hiring the right people. Think about that is the problem that everyone is facing in the industry, right? That's how I see it. Now we need to figure out how do we really kind of march forward in that dimension.
Absolutely. That's a great way to start. Uh, Ashok, thank you so much for that. Yes, Dr. Sumukh, what do you think? Probably, it's actually the the grounded reality that actually the audience also wants to hear. Probably what experience you actually had, probably in the hiring process when there was a trust problem.
See, the trust problem, no, as a recruiters, as a TA people, it's our everyday problem to build a trust constantly to our business, and it's required massive efforts and all. Like you build so many process projects, anything, but there'll be still a problem. Some way or other, candidates or even the hiring team finds that one. So I want to tell you, in my one of my previous company, what happened is like there's a trust problem with the hiring team itself. Like example, what they were doing, they interviewing the people who actually they were referring. They find there's a community of people. They were referring people who they know, and in the team of people there are 3 4 people. First person was taking first interview, one person was taking second interview. They know there are 2 people. These 2 people know the them who are referring. So what is happening, the entire team, even if they are not qualified, they were taking their own people. So that was becoming a big of a trust problem for us. Even though we had a strong referral policy, we had a referral checks, we had a ID check, every checks we were doing, but still we couldn't figure out this one. So that's where the trust problem comes. So they think that either the process is broken or somebody is not able to figure out where it is. So imagine you are the hiring manager. One person you are hiring, even knowing that he's not suitable for the job, still you want to give a priority for them. So that's the highest red flag which I've seen in my career.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sumukh. That is indeed, not just a problem with your previous organization, but across when I speak to different TA
Yeah,
leaders across the APAC region. The problem actually resonated with what I've been hearing these days, and been uh, actually a bigger problem right now. It's emerging at a very fast pace, and obviously we'll be understanding how we can solve it. But yeah,
yeah.
Mr. Anupam, what do you think? Probably you have the experience in in more than 20 25 countries. What do you think? What can be the hiring problem or your experience on that?
Definitely, Pratik, I think that's a very the problem that we live in everyday basis, and that we have been living last 2 decades, 3 decades since when we have the recruiting system. Also, the media and understanding of these problems keeps changing. The layout keeps changing. Remains same, right? I'll talk about one quick instant. It was like a global product engineering team we were building, and everything looks pretty good on paper, like high acceptance rates, fast closures, and the strong interview feedbacks and everything. But moving to like after 60, 90 days feedback, when we had the follow up meetings and new joining follow up feedback forms and everything, right? We started hearing different stories. The story were more around like hiring managers were quietly reevaluating new hires based on that initial what they have seen. Then some candidates who were interviewed brilliantly were struggling in execution. Then hiring managers told, okay, fine, let's add some more interview rounds and all. And I would say okay, those were the signals for me to understand, okay, fine, when your system start adding layers to feel safer, then I would say it's a trust deficit there. Then eventually they started digging deeper into that, and then we could see like interviews were not, the competency mappings were not done accurately, and they're relying, hiring managers were relying more on like interviewers performance versus real capability calibrations or validations. What you need actually, what a person is going to do actually versus, okay fine, do you know Java, right? Those were the issues, and somewhat in inconsistency, and about the understanding was this candidate is good. That good factor, the definition of good and how somebody's defining that good was not very well consistent across the panels, and how does it happen. So I would say we didn't have the hiring quality problem, but it was a more of a like a trust calibration problem.
Right. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Anupam. Absolutely. I mean, the quality sometimes can be fine, but how do you navigate the process actually depends. And specifically right now, with the emerging metrics, the KPIs like speed to hire, how fast can you fill the role has made it even worse. So speed is actually an exploitable gap, right? And I believe since you all come from very large organizations and have driven awesome HR and talent acquisition team, you're actually trying to drive a frictionless recruiting, and you're actually making the speed to hire improvements, right? But those same accelerators sometimes create blind spots. So let me ask you all of this, that how has the pressure, to hire fast in your industry made fraud even harder to catch? What do you think? Probably the speed versus safety. How would you categorize this and how would you put it? Yes, Mr. Ashok, probably you can go first here.
Um, See, the reality is that there won't be any system that is going to be foolproof, right? Going after that will really create a lot more friction, right? Because hiring is a is an phenomenon where it's like, from a corporate world, it's like a marriage, right? I mean, you are really figuring out the right fitment to the person, as can the person make their best career and can get the organization get the best of the person, right? So there's a huge thing around trust, right? And and impeding trust, or the dent to the trust, is actually a problem to not only cost but velocity as well. So
Right.
I mean, there are various strategies that we are looking at, right? One of the thing, like as you heard the word frictionless, what the idea here is to see the number of checks and balances and the hands that we are putting in place. Can we minimize those, right? Because that, then it's like as a, if you build a complex system and the integration points increases, that your failure points increases as well. So how do you kind of rationalize and make it a lot more with lesser number of humans, and probably bring the same technology in the process itself, right? How can we actually bring more automated technology now than what was a challenge earlier, right? With AI and the responsible AI and the bias free techniques that we can bring in, etc. Can we bring in technology itself in the flow and kind of figure out the signals where things can be going wrong, right? If you try to make a foolproof system, this is going to be a problem, because catching 1 or 2% of those fraudulent cases, you are making 98% people kind of going through that harder process, which is actually going to create a much larger problem, right, in the environment for all the stakeholders. You are going to bring down their experience at the lowest level if you did that, right? So how do you really kind of go, I mean, our nature of thinking right now is to rationalize the hiring process, use the technology to find those signals, is what I think we should be going after. Yeah, but uh, going after a foolproof hiring system or a process is probably not the way to go, is my opinion here.
Wonderful. Absolutely right. I mean, multiple touch points, can create a friction. But how can we actually make it more better so that we receive better signals? So that's an awesome take, Mr. Ashok. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Sumukh, what do you think about this?
Um, See, my echo with what Ashok is telling, like because two people are doing wrong, if you want to correct, all the 98 other people will suffer. That's been our experience too. We somebody found using deepfake, we bought one more layer. Somebody using that one, we bought one more layer. Like 3 4 layers, adding to this, the process is becoming complex and complex. Every day. So here, what I also want to say is like when we wanted to hire the talent at a faster, uh, uh, like I think 2 3 years before, we wanted to hire some 1,000 people in less than 3 months. We were started hiring people. Literally, I don't want to name the city. There are 2 3 cities. They started like a racket. Like they had a center where anybody can go there, just sit in front of camera like how I'm sitting, but somebody else will be speaking on their behalf. Like it's like a organized racket for clearing interviews. And one day by mistake, some candidate has joined the interview. He was not aware, like we just told him like check your internet connectivity if something is working. He took his laptop literally and shown like the entire it's like a call center, everybody sitting there and clearing the interview. So because we wanted to hire faster, these type of rackets and this type of organized scams were started. So then we started figuring out how well they have connected to a Bluetooth device, they have connected to some other device, or lip syncing, like so much of things we bought in. Like we wanted to hire fast, but that fast people took in their advantage and started doing all of these things. And lately, I discovered just not only that, like not only IT interviews, they give the certifications, they give a lot of things. They do it in that becoming. very hard to catch for us, and it's a everyday problem we are dealing as a talent acquisition people.
Oh, awesome. So I mean, so rightly mentioned, right? I mean, cities or people creating a racket out of this and starting off a new industry altogether, right?
Yes.
Now probably the next would be how much are they earning and revenues coming in all the reports. But believe me, I mean, this hiring fraud has significantly increased, and with this rackets coming up, right, it becomes really uh you know sort of expensive for every organization, because once the wrong hire comes into the system, right, now how can we actually deal with it? So I mean, we will be obviously touching base, but Mr. Anupam, your experience is actually required here. What do you think? Probably this for India, or probably the APAC, but across the world, what do you think? What has been the challenges? How can we deal with it?
I think that's a global issue, but the way people do it is a little different because depending on the culture and the resources availability and how fast and how deep people can think about these things. But definitely that's a very consistent problem, and I could see that the numbers have gone up. Or during in the post-COVID time, some of these scenarios have started coming maybe much more frequent. So the lot of things. See, one thing we need to understand, right? Speed really collapses the validation time. And the moment we are running with the speed and this compressing the validation time, multiple interviews, multiple this, this could be a different case because we can easily categorize in two ways. Like one is like lateral hiring, one is niche skill. Niche skill is slow, deep interviews, less possibility of those. But the moment we go lateral hiring, and many companies they hire in bulk, like Ashok from Accenture, Sumukh from Amazon. I have seen that in my past company, but not in the current company. With the kind of numbers we operate on daily basis, the kind of transaction we deal with daily basis, sometimes it's very difficult to really do it manually. And thankfully, there are a lot of good tools are available in the market who can really judge those things, parallel voices, retina movements. A lot of those things are there that can be judged, right? But how we did differently is about like more getting more deeper into the work simulation based interviewing assessment, right? Because that needs a lot of thinking about the people, what we can do. And it's very difficult for the people who are not into that kind of what they don't have the right behavior and thinking process to answer those questions in a relatively more effective manner versus a very typical theoretical Q&A. Okay, fine. Tell me how to reverse a string using a node problem, data structure, and those things, different data structure, Java, for one, right? And definitely, it has a lot of more structure about the deep interviewing about those skills. So when I explain those things, many a times it has been perceived. Okay, fine. So do we need to have so many interviews, so many round of interviews, get those things done? So I'd like to make a statement here is showing more people in the problem doesn't guarantee to solve the problem. It is about how you're structuring the problem and how do you want to address that problem. AI assisted validation for a consistency across the routes, also summing up the feedbacks and everything. That has had a lot of definitely clear definition of good, as I mentioned earlier. If you say this candidate it is rated 3 in this particular competency, what does this 3 mean? Because I have seen business always has other thing as a priority than hiring. For them, hiring is TS job, and it looks like sometime the people we are hiring they're gonna work in the TA team and not their team. So it's a kind of a misconception. I would say it's a clear ownership problem, and how TA can help resolve this problem, working closely with that, and just to trying to create a system of trust where all those things can be taken for in a much more mature way, rather saying, okay, fine, it's your problem, it's my problem.
Wow. Wow. Indeed, actually, I mean, probably I'll ask my team to put what you have said about a problem as a quote as well. That is actually right. How do we break down a problem and understand and actually hit the right bullseye? Let me ask you all of this. That probably when a fraud IT hire gets through, right? What's the real cost beyond numbers that you guys feel can actually take a toll on the organization? Probably once they are into the system, they have cleared all the checks, they're all good to go. But what's the real cost when you really find out, hey, this is a fraud candidate, now what to do? So yeah, I mean, probably the audience is actually wanting to hear that as well, of how they can actually mitigate those challenges now.
Probably I'll take this question because I just it's continuation of my previous one. See, of course, the cost in terms of the material cost that what we spend money on it, it's an huge, because if you look at the interviewing numbers, interviewing cost, the technology what we are paying to it, like bandwidth, that's a real money which is involved. Apart from that, no one, it will start getting to a point, it will start losing trust our own against our own process. Like, okay, this is the process we built last year, okay, now I'm getting this into it. Like every year this is getting difficult for us. Like if you look at in during COVID time 2021-22, we didn't have a mechanism or technology to find out a deep fake, lip sync, retina, um, screen on screen. We didn't have any technology. Now we have built all of that. Now there is a new set of skills are evolving, how this gets it. So the biggest problem for ta and hiring group is, like, one, we start doubting about our own process, whether this is good, bad, should we improvise on that, and we start questioning, okay, the technology evolving, is that really helping me? Like when I was doing 2005 to 2015, I was doing a manual interviews, I'm calling people to my office. That time it was better, like I didn't had hardly any fake candidates were coming in, right? So that becomes a not a money problem and a trust problem, a question on our own problem, process itself. Plus the debate never ends, like, is the technology, it's a boon or bin, like that's the cost that we all have to be in.
Wonderful. No, absolutely. My next question is something around that only, but
Okay.
I'll leave that for the next. First, I'll have Mr. Ashok and Mr. Anupam's view on this. What do you think, and how have you dealt with it? Probably a little bit of your recipe as well, Mr. Ashok and Anupam. What do you think of this? Yeah.
So, see, the cost has multiple facets to it, right? I think if the trust is broken, or rather, if a candidate goes through your and an incident happens, right? And if you are obviously everyone is anxious about what's going on, right? And where do you need to focus, right? What it also means is, as things are evolving, I think one thing is given, that we need to clearly transform our systems and processes as we do talent acquisition in uh, the current wave of transformation that we're talking about, right? And if our own internal stakeholders doesn't trust in terms of what's going on, then that transformation velocity will get big time impacted, and that's not going to be good for business, right? The other thing is, with with the AI being used within the hiring process itself, it will also put a question on the we talk about the responsible AI governance and the entire framework around it, right? It will put a question on that as well, in terms of how well it is working and not working, right? So I think there are multi uh, angles to it, and we really have to be on top of our game to really make sure that we are picking those signals more proactively and winning the confidence and the trust of our internal stakeholders and the sponsors, without which we are actually, it's an organizational risk, and it's also it's going to create more chaos in this industry, I mean, particularly in the talent acquisition process.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so true. I mean, that's right. And probably I'll have Mr. Anupam's view, and then I have a cross question to all of you that I'll ask after this. Yes, Mr. Anupam, what do you think of this?
See, I think it's well covered by Sumukh and Ashok. I just want to add, see, the cost is the moment you talk about the cost from the accounting term, that looks like the financial. But I think the impact is much more deeper and the broader when we say the cost. It could be the cost around the trust erosion among the team about the process and whatever we are doing. It could be the team performance, because having a bad hire in the team that also, degrades the team performance very quietly. The other team members start burning out, extra job in execution, and those things happen. And then it's kind of a uh, trust or the tax on the future hires too, because after a bad experience, hiring managers start adding more rounds because they have the risk appetite reduces. The more number of bad hires you have, the risk appetite reduce, and then you start having more taxes and more criteria around the interview rounds on those things, right? And also it's overall like the cultural how that gets damaged, right? Like with having the wrong people like this, and also a main core of time the reputational risk for the organizations too, having the bad hat in the team. So it has a lot of things. I think those are things what I have how I have seen is being handled is having a very different and situation based structuring of assessment rather having a very fixed and one stick solve everything, rather having a bit more customization. Again, at the same time, how it can be operated efficiently with that scale you're operating at, because it has its own challenges. If you're hiring 10,000 in a year, how do you want to segment that? Do you want to apply at a certain level and above? Do you want to put the structure the lowermost people or the campus where you can easily apply those? But that structuring is required in many places. I have seen that working very well the moment I start putting a structure, because then I was working at the team here with my previous organizations too. I have seen those things working very well, like and having a blend of those bar racer and having a blend of that behavioral interviewing. I'm a strong believer of that part of technical interviewing. I think that combination has helped a lot. Many a times the business, the project team, the interview project team that comes with a mindset and biased mindset, this is what we are looking for. I think that's where we have a need of having some neutral opinion about the candidate, which might check at the org fitment or the cultural fitment in that way. I think that kind of evaluation, if you are able to add that and with scale, I think that's gonna help. That's my take.
Wonderful. No, absolutely, Mr. Anupam, you have said it rightly. Of how can we make the structure more dynamic basis, or like a customization, to each job role or each JDs, or the each job requisitions that HR actually take out, so that it can be more sort of a situational based question and answering it, or probably the assessment structure where they can understand the practical experiences of the candidate, and it doesn't look like a structured interview or a structured assessment that actually keeps on leaking your questions outside this. So you're absolutely right. But this actually brings into my next question, and probably the question that I was about to ask you all. You know, you all come from a very large organization. It's global, right? And the team sizes, the organization footprints that we are speaking is humongous for you all, right? And the talent pool is very segregated. It's not restricted to a particular geography. Let's say we have already had a discussion about the IT hiring frauds, of how dynamic we can become, some of the recipes we have heard, and probably some of the takes also that we have got in the large hiring scenarios. Let's say for your organization, is reverting to an in-person interviews actually a solution? Do you guys think that that 2005, as Dr. Sumukh said, to 2015 or 20 scenario, should we return back to that even after COVID, and even after having all those agentic AI, Gen AI solutions, giving all the security solutions, or probably something we can add something to your existing structure? What do you think?
See, I'll tell you for this. Okay, we in a batch of like 30, 40 people, we were finding at least 3, 4 people were and like indulged in some other activities, not here in the batch. The hiring team was like so redundant that no, we wanted all the have the in-person interviews. Okay, we started doing in-person interviews. We started calling them on a weekend drive. Like in a weekend drive, at least there'll be 300, 400 people working in. Right now, what we figured out, the person who is come for interview and the person who is joining are different. Like, what will you do for this? Like, so he'll tell, no, I'm the person coming in. Like, so that is the problem. Like, though you make them in-person interviews, like I can't ask them everyone to come to Bangalore, no? So that increases my cost, that I have to sponsor the tickets for them, or they have to put for themselves, so that increases the complexity, right? And we thought of doing at least one round of interview. That it's not solving to a greater extent. If you want to look at a talent where you need a good talent across India or across the globe, having in-person interview will not definitely solve the problem. To a very minor extent it will solve, but it's not a full solution is my take.
Right. So we should have some technology like a verification system or like a scanner, that the candidate who's coming and the one who is joining is actually the same, right? So I believe that's the solution.
No, that is also not solution, I'll tell you, because we did out of that. Like, we took a photos of a person and he's telling like, no, I'm the one who's standing there. What will you do?
Right, the adamant candidates can go to that extent, but obviously let me hear from Mr. Ashok and Mr. Anupam as well, and let's find out a solution what we can actually do. Yes, go to you.
You are talking about the country's visa processing and the custom goods hiring process is what you're talking about, Prateek. If you were to and probably those are also not foolproof, right? So I think we are talking about is in person as I think we are living in the world of hybrid is the way to go, right? So you absolutely need to have the solutions and the processes which particularly when you are looking at scaling and velocity, the speed is an essence for everywhere. So I don't think in person is probably we are ever going to go to that stage. I don't think that's going to happen, right? The thinking is it's a it's a bit of if you take that custom analogy which I was getting to, where the fraud can happen, and you still need to figure out based on the signals in terms of what are the scenarios where the fraud can happen and how where you can strengthen your checks and balances there, right? So it's like we are also thinking about something on the nature of like a green channel, orange channel, red channel type of a stuff, where you pretty much have your systems and processes laid down for and having a more speed to hire and better experiences and so on, where everything ticks the box in terms of all the checks and that you want to put in place. Then you kind of bring in, oh, you probably need something fishy signal happening here, you may want to check few more things here, get your people around it and kind of do a more due diligence and kind of get them through. And some you may also like, oh, this is like there are red flags here and there, and you really need to get the person into the office and figure out the authenticity of it, and before you kind of do need the leakage, right? That's how I think it's a bit of a filtering process that you and probably a different phenomenon that you may want to apply, because I think hybrid is a way to go, and velocity is important for business to drive. So there is no one solution for everything, right? Well, that's how I see it. So I would love to be in that space where you brought 5,000 people outside your office in the queue to kind of get them into it, but that's not going to work going forward.
Awesome. One more remedy. I probably, my dear panelists, don't have to do any MBA right now. I've quite done with your recipes, and I believe one more addition to this recipe, Mr. Anupam, would really help me to achieve that. What do you think of this?
See, in a very nutshell, to answer your question, will it help a solution going back to the in-person interviews? I would say it's not a solution, it's a reaction. That's how I would tell it as, right?
Yes.
It may solve a few issues. It could be fraud, a proxy interview. But is it solving the core problem, which is assessing the capabilities and authenticity at the same time together?
True.
That's the core problem what we have and what we have been trying to deal with, like how to avoid the fraud, but at the same time the capability assessment and authenticity. Right. In my opinion, what I have seen it working at the moment is structured interviews. As of now, given the technology and AI phase we are in, and the kind of tools we have in the market, I have tried more than 100 tools in interviewing itself, just to see like how it is, like some of the advisory board I'm part of, like some AI the tools and those things. As of now, the bitter truth is no such tool exists which can solve both the problems together in the current. There's no such tool that can solve both the problems, right? And the moment, the more we go towards it, how it can be handled, because post COVID things have changed. We cannot think about in person, face to face, and everything, because post COVID things have changed. The global team. Currently, I am managing more than 10 countries, hiring and those things. I cannot go everywhere to interview people and hire people. I can send my team everywhere, hire people, right? So it becomes a problem. So we have to have a dependency on technology, and as well as we have to have a solution within that. Like what I have done, I can talk about that is like for any person, anywhere, right? I don't want to fly force people here. I don't want to get those things done. If it is outside India, because US is fully remote across locations, quite distributed model what we have. Anybody who is in that location, nearby location, can meet the person over the coffee. It doesn't matter. It's an interview panel, not interview panel.
True.
Can we create some of those things? Maybe possible in the mid-sized companies, may not be possible in the larger.
Right.
Again, the scale is the picture and how much we can afford to do and how much risk appetite we have at what level. Do we want to do it only for the leadership level and leave it for the junior level? Do we have a risk appetite at that level? Or do we have a risk appetite at the leadership level also to see how we can do that, right? So it all depends. I have seen some of those things working. It's a better validation mechanism that should be in place. Then there should be a strong signal calibration across interviews, like how this calibrated about the competencies, the expectation, what we're looking for. I think those things has to be there. That should be definitely the use of AI intelligently, not rather 100% depending on AI, because that part of the word still has to be proven, and the clear definition what good is with the blend of the behavioral, and if possible some in-person chat and fitment chat with the bar as a neutral opinion. Combination of these, I think that may work better. In my experience, I have seen those working, hiring across the globe, across the locations, across the cultural geographies. I have seen those things working. But if you ask me, is that any foolproof solution? As Dr. Sumukh and Ashok mentioned, that there's nothing available at the moment, and we have to keep trying in different ways and kind of as R&D mode we are into and how we can do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. I mean, that actually responds us so well, and probably all our HR colleagues, even watching this session, would appreciate everyone's take here of how we can actually solve this, and probably what our processes we can actually try. It's a matter of trying and evolving yourself. It's not about just sticking to one point or one ladder and then climbing it up. We will have to change our situations. We will have to change our way of how we think and how we evolve. So, to you, Mr. Ashok, Dr. Sumukh, and Mr. Anupam, thank you so much. Not for the polished answers, but for the honest one, and that's what makes it worth having and listening. And to everyone joining us today, this conversation just doesn't end here. Yes, Mr. Anupam, do you want to add something?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just trying to add the word because about the last point about in-person interviews. If going back in-person interviews would have been the solution, we wouldn't have had any bad hires before remote interviewing. Right. We even had the bad hires in that point of time. It was 100% in person, right? So the core problem is different.
True.
That we have to think about as a TA leader, as a part of the TA team, how we can face it.
Absolutely. Wow. What a ending note. I mean, that's something that I'll use it as an ending note, Mr. Anupam. Nothing better than that. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This conversation actually just doesn't end here. Take it back to your teams. These leaders have given their experiences, their thoughts. Take it to your hiring tables, to your boardrooms, because the organizations that will win the talent game in the next 5 or 10 years won't just be the fastest hire, they will be the most trusted ones. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, my dear panelists, for giving out your honest, unfiltered opinion. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.